Hey everyone, Pastor Chris here. Welcome to another poolside chat on a late Saturday night. Today is the 32nd wedding anniversary for Susan and I, so we were out all day long. Went a couple hours down the road to Mount Dora, the 184-foot Mount Dora. Great trip, really nice drive. It was just a really super nice day. But I didn't forget y'all. And we have been talking, Monique, world events has really kind of come to the forefront with Israel and the war, and a lot of the questions have been raised in this. But I said that we're studying Nahum on Saturdays. Why Nahum? And if you remember, I spoke about Jonah, and that Nahum happened 150 years after Jonah. Jonah goes to Nineveh, capital of Babylon. All the Ninevites come to God, and they come to him. Nahum is written 150 years after all the Ninevites turned from their idols and worship God. Thought that was a baby screaming for a minute. And 150 years later, no righteous person can be found. And it reminded me of Judges. And all this is important because they lead up to the message of Nahum. It's kind of the background to the story behind the story. Why is the book of Nahum important? In the context of Christian education, ministry, you call it hermeneutics. What is the context? And this is the context, the background to the story. And it reminds me of Judges. The book of Judges is written after Joshua leads the Israelites in the promised land of Canaan. They divide the land, and 12 judges are raised up, because what happens? Israelites need a leader. Joshua dies, and God raises up a judge, because it says 12 times, and the people did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they forgot their God, over and over again. They raise up a judge, Israel is blessed, then the people do evil in the sight of the Lord, and they forgot their God. Happens over and over again. And Ronald Reagan, when he was president, said that our nation is one generation away from losing our democracy. And Judges and Jonah and Nahum all go to this, because the question is how, when all the people turn to God, can 4 generations later, not one righteous person is found in the land? It happened in Judges, and it can happen today. And I want you to think about this. Now, my parents, my generation, our parents took us to church. Everybody went to church. I mean, there were people who did not go to church, absolutely. But all of us went to church, and even the people that didn't go to church knew that God was there. They just wanted God to leave them alone. My generation, many people did not go to church. They stopped. And their children, the next generation, did not go to church. They did not see the importance of church because they'd never been to church. So they kind of have forgotten about God. They look at their own strength, their own ways, their own intelligence, the science, whatever it be. And I'm not saying anything bad for my friends. I've got friends who don't know God. What I'm saying is that in one generation, it can happen. And I think we've seen how popular atheism, no God has become. And I think when you lose faith in a supreme being, a higher power be it can lead to some of the problems we see today. So this is the background to Nahum. We saw it in Judges, we heard it from Ronald Reagan, and that's an example of how this can happen. My parents, all of my friends' parents, everyone went to church. Many people in my generation stopped. And their children, since they never went to church, having no background, have forgotten their God or didn't know. So I say this one as a warning that this can happen. I believe this is happening. But the encouragement is we can easily turn this around by preaching, by living, by calling people back to God, by inviting them, by asking them, by telling them why we're not anxious, why we're not scared, how we can be, I want to say joyful, but how we can be peaceful in the midst of chaos, and remind people who God is. But this is the background to Nahum. So when I get into this book, we're going to see God's reaction when they deliberately leave him. 150 years isn't that far. It's not that long ago. Civil War. The American Civil War, I should say. So, anyway, I wanted you to know 12 times the people did evil on the side of the Lord, and they forgot their God. So then bad stuff happened. The people call out, God save us. He raises up a judge. He does. Good times. And then they forget. All right, guys, thanks for being patient with me. Remember, Wednesdays and Saturdays, we are here on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble at FL Compass Church. Keep these questions coming. Heavenly knows we have a lot with all that's going on in the world, especially with Israel and the Palestinians and the war. And I'll be answering some of these, I think, for a long while on Wednesdays. But keep them coming. We'll get to them. Be blessed. Remember, tomorrow's Sunday, so go to church, and we'll see you Wednesday.